Hi, welcome everybody to the Things Industries webinar. This is a special edition with a special guest, Lyubomir, CEO of MClimate. My name is Wienke, Giezeman, CEO and co-founder of the Things Industries. At the Things Industries, we help companies around the world scale the LoRaWAN solution through our managed LoRaWAN network server infrastructure. Currently already supporting more than 1.3 million devices across the world. And this webinar is about a special product that what we feel has some very interesting characteristics that leverage both the power of LoRaWAN and includes very innovative technology that makes the product very effective in the business performance it wants to deliver. So thanks for being here with us, Lyubomir. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell me a bit about what you guys are doing and a short introduction on your company and the products.
Thank you very much for organizing this, Wienke. I'm glad to be with you on a webinar. So as you said, yes, my name is Lyubomir. It's kind of hard to pronounce, but the short version is Lyubo. I am the co-founder and CEO of MClimate. At MClimate, what we do is our model is that we make any building smart. So we as a company focus on hardware devices that kind of have a unique value proposition, most of them, and are focusing on primarily controlling and optimizing buildings. And then we focus on the things that really, have a good ESG and energy impact. Things like, HVAC control, radiators, but we also have some more custom solutions like, for example, the T-valve, which is a water control valve. But then we also have some pretty straightforward products, like, for example, an open-close sensor. We as a company were established in 2015. We started our journey as a smart home company, focusing on Wi-Fi. But then we decided to switch back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. We decided to pivot towards smart buildings and LoRaWAN. And one of the main reasons why we did this is because of the power of the LoRaWAN technology. It basically allowed us to find partners that can deploy those devices at scale. Thanks to LoRaWAN, not only because of the range, but also because of the battery life. So you can imagine that, for example, a facility management company or, for example, a heat cost allocation company, they want to sign you up as a client, and then in the optimal outcome, they would never have to visit your building again. And LoRaWAN is what brings this to basically allows the products to perform like this. Prior to this, our experience with Wi-Fi was primarily in the B2B approach was in the residential sector, utilities, but there the Wi-Fi connectivity was causing a lot of issues. So LoRaWAN has been really an amazing technology for us because it basically allowed us to start deploying those devices at scale and then also create different business models with the customers. We are a fairly small company in terms of how many people are working directly for the company, but then we also employ 2 factories and approximately 120 people working at the factories. And in the meantime, the technical team, the back office, we're about 20 people. So not a huge company, but then this allows us to be also very quick. We do everything in-house. We do design, we do firmware, we do hardware, and then we outsource the manufacturing process to local companies, and we control the quality. Recently, we've also decided that it's a good idea because our products are kind of different. It's not just a temperature sensor. They're more unique, and most of them actually require some form of downlink communication so they can generate savings. And we decided that we should develop a software platform as well for our products so that our partners can test them quickly. But I'm saying a big but here. We are completely open with our protocol for communication. We try to do a good job in maintaining documentation, making it easy to understand. So we're open to other platforms, but we ended up with one because just because of the sales cycle, we approach somebody or they approach us, then they have to, either integrate it or they don't see the ultimate value proposition of the product with other platforms. But I'm happy to say that we're also partnering with some platforms, and we help them kind of integrate our products better there. What more? As a company, we're if I may just say this, as a company, we're looking for partners. We're a product company. We want to develop good products. We want to take care of their lifetime. But we are not the guys that speak the local language and can attract customers. So, and we don't service apartments or buildings. We leave this to a partner, to a network of partners, basically.
Cool. That's very interesting, and definitely that's one of the advantages of the LoRaWAN standard, because it's an open standard. You can easily partner because the interoperability is so strong. So very, very interesting. Let's just deep dive into the specific product you created. And I think you also brought some slides, so feel free to share a screen. And I think what I'm interested in, and I think also the audience is interested in, is like how were you able to make all this technology work, and also put that to use in business? So how do these different innovations you put in this product actually drive down the total cost of ownership and scale the benefits that these kind of products have? So yeah, maybe you can really take a deep dive and share something you have
into the product. Yeah, I would love to. A few words before this is kind of the first SKU or part number that we're releasing. But the product is going to look the same, but then it's going to have a few different variations. We have not posted them officially yet, but we're preparing them. The product itself is this one. It's we call it the MClimate wireless thermostat. So what you might see here is first in display, where I can adjust the target temperature. I can see what is the temperature at the moment. I can see the light conditions, and there's also a peer sensor. But the best part is actually the solar panel. So this device, it has space for batteries. You can insert them, but you don't need them. Thanks to LoRaWAN and thanks to also Epishine from Sweden, they allowed us to unlock this opportunity to create a device that looks like this, has a display, has a motion sensor, is running LoRaWAN, but then has no batteries. And I think this is becoming a trend in the IoT space, which I love. Batteries, we use a lot of them, but just this movement is amazing. So, as I said, this is how the product looks like. It's a glass. It's a really good quality glass. It's like almost crush resistant. As I said, it also has a peer sensor and 3 buttons. This is the first version of the product that we're releasing, and this is what we're talking about today. Just going to also show it from the side and from the back. On the back, it also has, there is a cover, but it also has this metal plate, which you can use to secure on the wall, either with screws or with double-sided tape. So what the product does is basically 2 parts. The first part, it's a sensor, okay? It senses light, it senses temperature, it senses humidity, and it senses movement. The second part, which is quite interesting to us as a IoT player that is doing mainly actuation, is the part with the adjusting the target temperature. So you can imagine that whatever system you have in your building, If somebody decides to retrofit it, and there are tons of buildings, about 75% of the building stock has to be updated. But if you want to do some quick retrofit inside the building and kind of allow a new system to control the temperature, you can use the wireless thermostat. The concrete example of a very good value proposition that we have, and this is primarily why we decided to invest in this direction, is the combination with other actuators. In our case, with Wiki. Wiki, it's a radiator thermostat, and you can imagine that, for example, in let's say a school, you might have 3-4 radiators inside one classroom. So you would have 3-4 Wikis. That's fine, but nobody wants to individually go and set each one of them. But instead, you install such a wireless thermostat on the wall. You have control from single panel, and also through a platform, of course, that's a given. But you also have a temperature sensor, which you can use as a reference point for all the devices inside this room. And what's very important when it comes to enhancing your energy savings is also the light. So the sun radiation that gets into the room, it might not carry significant energy, but it carries comfort. Okay, if it's not a super hot sunny day. So having this solar cell there, having the ability not only to create energy from the sun, but also to understand how lightly lit is one room, it's important to enhance the energy savings further.
Very interesting. So the business case is really more on kind of the fine tuning of the kind of thermostat used in a building, and retrofitting. I mean, what we see across our base as well is that if you look at smart building, it's always aftermarket. The amount of new buildings that are being made is very small compared to the existing building infrastructure, and I think the joint customers that we have are making massive savings. So really clear on the return on investment. Can you connect this also into legacy systems? So you have your own Wiki, where you control the radiators and the heating systems. How do you tie this into existing legacy systems that actually have controls already in place?
Yeah, that's super important. What you said, you compare the existing building stock with the new buildings. And statistics from the EU is that about 80% of the buildings that are gonna be standing in 30 years are actually built already. So only 20% are gonna be new. And the thing is that the building stock, you mentioned legacy systems. Some buildings don't have a BMS. Some buildings have a BMS, but many buildings have a BMS and nobody is actually, taught, educated how to work with it, how to manipulate it so it can actually, create some savings. Most of the time it's like, hey, we just need this infrastructure to talk, and that's it. We have experience with integrating our devices into legacy BMS systems. We have one partner from the UK. It's called Wojtek, which he has done an amazing job in a few buildings in the UK. I think more than 10 buildings, but the last one, it's amazing. I can't wait to publish the case study. But what can happen is that actually the a target market of existing BMS installers might also see value in this. So it's easy now to integrate basically any LoRaWAN product into a BMS system through Modbus, BACnet, KNX, etc. So there's some gateways that translate the signal. And a legacy BMS integrator, they're gonna see additional points. You're gonna see additional points about the target temperature, about the light in the building, about the temperature in the room, about movements. The question is who is going to take advantage of this data. And I think that the current legacy BMS integrators, I don't really want to call them legacy, but they're starting slowly to move in this direction. They want to understand LoRaWAN. The thing is that they're afraid. They're afraid that since there are no wires, things are not going to communicate well. And we're proving this the opposite basically every day.
Yeah, Great. Can you so I think it's clear why these solutions are needed. Okay, can you also go a bit into why what kind of um so my kind of sense in here is that this solar panel you have on this device is categorically going to change the total cost of ownership. Um, and we have an hypothesis that we think that in 3 years, every LoRaWAN device will have a solar panel. And what these guys at Epishine are doing, or also at EPs and Dracula Technologies,
Yeah.
there's really a clear kind of a confirmation of that hypothesis also by the investment community, right? These are all very well backed kind of organizations. So we're not alone in this hypothesis. But can you make a breakdown for everybody what how important it is that you make these devices very sustainable through such a solar panel?
Absolutely. I'm actually, maybe we should give a kudos to also the kind of the European Commission for funding such deep tech startups that nobody believes that
Yeah.
they're gonna ship a product, but then they start shipping. So very good for doing this. You mentioned total cost of ownership. Okay, and in the beginning I mentioned that actually LoRaWAN and this long battery lifetime allowed us to partner with companies that have millions of devices already deployed in buildings, millions of devices, heat cost allocation companies, some utility companies, etc. So as I said, to them, it's important to sign the contract and never have to visit the building again. Why? Because people have to, you have to find a technician, he has to drive there for an hour, he has to find a parking spot just to check the batteries of a device. You can understand why a device might be very expensive on the market. We from MClimate, we have hundreds of thousands of devices already out there running. So we actually had a learning curve about how to manage the battery of a device, how to make sure that it survives the longest, etc. But still, we have batteries, and I think that technically, for some of the products that we have, we might never be able to put to remove the batteries. Just because there might be not enough energy. The thing is that now our partners are reacting very well to the idea that they install the device and never have to visit the building again. And I mean, it's also very important to talk about the environmental footprint of batteries. I don't want to trash talk them, obviously, but there was an interesting circulation in LinkedIn that if we have 1 trillion devices out there, IoT devices, and all of them are powered by batteries, we're gonna have to replace a million or a billion, I cannot remember, batteries every single day. So I'm sure Duracell, Energizer are gonna be happy about this, but the truth is that through deep tech, to such approaches, now we're able to find power elsewhere, and I think everybody should take advantage of this.
Yeah.
It increases the cost,
No,
but it's bearable.
yeah, and I think companies like you, they build value proposition that distribute that cost to a place where it actually is a direct return, right? Because what is connected to this is that in Europe we already passed the workforce peak, so we will never have, and we can say that every day in Europe we will never have a larger workforce than today, and that's what we can,
Wow.
because we peaked. So it's not only that we won't have any kind of budget or any kind of room for investment to replace batteries, we would just will not have the people to actually do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I hear this feedback from the ecosystem as well, is that the number one limiting growth factor of IoT is now the lack of installers. So like if we already lack that, we for sure do not have capacity to check on batteries even every year.
Even if they survive 10 years, it's still an issue.
Yeah.
The long term.
Yeah. Okay. So very interesting comments there. So I think we now know what you do. We know why this product delivers value. We know why this product design has been selected, and how it drives down the total cost of ownership, bringing like the time to value of your product. Just to summarize this, I mean, it must be extremely short, right? Although maybe the energy pricing is going down a bit, what is your estimate on a kind of time to value? Where I see like more, let's then take time to break even. What are we talking about here?
I can speak from the position of combining this with Wiki, because this is our straightforward application. But with Wiki, the ROI, it really depends on the price of energy, right? That's very important. At some point, it might be during last year, it might have been 3 months. Right now, we say a year and a half to 2 years, you should see your money back. And the reality is that it might be little less than this. It depends on the kind of the profile that you have, but it's not a lot. It's not a lot. It's 2 years until ROI. Even if we take the worst case, 2 years, a lot of time. Maybe we have buildings that have reached ROI in a single heating season. In the middle of it, they already had repaid the whole investment. But even 2 years, when you compare it to, let's say, a heat pump, solar, etc., you have payback times of 7, 10, 12 years, and 2 years is nothing. And a lot of our partners are doing this exactly because of the savings, but also because of the emissions that they, do not emit basically with this solution. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. And I think also what we see in the smart building space is that there's now a desperate need for having a baseline measurement, because a lot of kind of countries have put in laws that buildings need to reduce their emissions by 15% or something around that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why also there's no time to wait, because you have to prove this at some point if you own buildings. And what we see is that the ESG data and that kind of thing, that they really will emerge from the greenwashing kind of era to regulators and investors not accepting anything else than hard measured and audited data. So I think the upside of that, except from that thing, is there's also no choice out there, and then you're a fantastic first mover in that market. So that's great. So then for the ones who are more technically interested in, can you tell a bit more, if you deep dive in it? What does the product do? What is its features? How is it interoperable with building management systems? How does how, if I'm an systems integrator, if I convinced us that the time to value is somewhere between 3 months and 12 months for a 10-year product, both are fine. How do I get started, and how does it work?
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking to technically inclined people, because I myself, as a CEO, I am this. I'm very thankful to have a colleague who takes care of sales, and then I can focus on kind of understanding the different markets and how we can add value. So what you see here, it's an e-ink display. This display is 2.9 inch. You have the target temperature, and you also have the readings on the other side, the current temperature, humidity, and light intensity. When there is movement from the peer sensor, I have currently disabled it, but there is a temporarily text which says movement detected. And now you can see that the device is sending this new data that I set. We have thought of things like, for example, let's say I increase the temperature higher than the target temperature, than the sensor temperature, then you get this fire sign automatically. You have information about the network connectivity, so how good the network is, and about the battery. When we turn it around, you have one reset button, but you also have the place for batteries. You can also put this cover here. I'm not gonna put it, but basically what you can imagine you can do, you can use it just like this with the solar panel. That's completely fine. And then if you have any needs of a reassurance, you can either insert 2 batteries here or 4 batteries. So that's important. Instead of the whole 4 batteries, you can use only 2. It also has an option for USB-C charging from here, and then you can use those canals to exit the device. Whenever you change the target temperature from the display, when I click this, it's going to send a message. And we've thought about a lot of things, thanks to our experience in the smart building industry in LoRaWAN, we know a lot of things that, they should be allowed by the protocol. I think that some products have a very stiff protocol, and we try to be on the other side. So whenever you change the target temperature, we send an uplink message immediately with the current readings and the new target temperature. If you, in the rest of the time, this device sends periodically a message to the gateway to say, hey, I'm here, those are my readings. As I said, you can combine, you can use, for example, if for some reason, let's say, okay, that's very important actually to mark. Technical people should know that when they're dealing with products that are using harvested energy, they should make sure that the network is up and running first, that there is connectivity to the device, because basically the join procedure takes most energy because it's executed on SF12. And a lot of those devices, the harvesting ones, actually start the joining procedure on another SF. So if your network is not there, then the device is just going to try to join on, let's say, this one in particular tries to join in on SF9, but then it's just going to try to join and might expand its battery. In terms of what happens, basically, if the battery goes down, basically it just shuts off until it recovers to a operational level, and then the device is alive again. But then you have also the kind of the icon on the display to show this. The device features kind of the good things that we've learned from other devices, like, for example, the watchdog mechanism for communication. So if the network is down, it's going to understand in maximum 24 hours that the network is down. And 24 hours is configurable. You can set whatever you want. But the thing is that the device works with unconfirmed uplinks to save energy. But then it also makes sure that it's connected to the network. What else can I say? It refreshes the screen again on a configurable period of time. This is a fast refresh device screen. You can see how quickly it changes. And on e-ink displays, you might have seen that it's a full refresh sometimes. This is a partial refresh. And then we do a full refresh every, I think, 24 hours. Because if on an e-ink display you have the same image for longer than this, you might get the ghosting, which means kind of having the imprint of this image just stick to the display forever. What we're doing right now is, okay, we announced this product. We did the datasheet, we did the certification, we did the user manual packaging. It's all in all the systems. That's great. Now we're preparing the second product, which is going to be almost the same as this one, but it's also going to feature a CO2 sensor. And in those in this collection of products, we make it flexible. If you want to remove something from the display, let's say you don't want to see the target temperature, you can do it with a flag. If you don't want to see, let's say, the humidity for some reason, you can again disable this with a flag. And the CO2 sensor was way more challenging. Because the CO2 sensor itself, it's using a lot of energy since we use a real MDIR sensor. Yeah, we've achieved this, and this is the next one that we're gonna announce. So people attending this webinar get the upside of knowing things sooner. And then the third product that we're gonna launch is gonna look almost the same as this one, but it's gonna feature a bigger display, 4.2 inches, and it's going to be called a wired thermostat. So this is going to allow, I think this might be the first LoRaWAN thermostat that's going to be compatible with most of the systems out there, with gas boilers, with heat pumps, with fan coils, with most of the legacy systems. And it's going to feature basically 5 relays inside, 5 relays that can control different things. and interface different systems.
Nice. And what kind of protocols will that then support as well?
Initially, LoRaWAN, but then we're looking at also other protocols, because it's
the
really
wired,
interesting.
I'm sorry. I'm talking about the wired protocols, because I think it's a really interesting. That usually for new technology adoption, you have to have some kind of backwards compatibility. Is it going to be just the two wires that we also have at home, or like how does that work?
It's really interesting, Wienke. My job as a CEO of MClimate most of the time is to understand different technologies. So we've consulted with also a lot of people on how do we achieve this. The thing is that there are all types of systems out there. So we decided, let's focus on this one, which was primarily for fan coils. Fan coils, I'm not sure if you know what fan coils are, but most people don't. Sometimes they do have a protocol to communicate with them, let's say Modbus or BACnet, whatever. Sometimes, but in cheaper buildings where they didn't have the infrastructure investment to do so, they don't have any communication. So the value of LoRaWAN is like, I'm going to enter your building, and in one day, I'm going to transform the way you control the temperature in your building, and therefore the energy.
So these buildings, they just have a timer which is say turn it on at 8 and turn it on at 5 or something. That's the level of intelligence that.
Yeah, and it depends on the building.
Okay.
For example, there is this middle class hotels, middle to even a higher class, which don't use Kinex, don't use Modbus, don't use anything. They just have the fan coil sitting there. They have the thermostat on the wall, and they expect guests or maybe cleaners to go and adjust the temperature. So for some businesses, it has tremendous value. For other, and as I said, my job is to kind of see technically how we can achieve this in, with single investment, or, the investment that we make, and kind of unlock the most potential from the markets. There's going to be a version, I guess, with Modbus. There might be a version with OpenTherm, which is very important for the residential sector, and etc. Yeah, I'm not going to reveal.
So then it's also going to become a controller where you send it kind of how to change it. Not only it's going to send the kind of desired temperature. Okay, very, very interesting. So so let's jump to some questions. So if anybody's listening, what kind of questions do you have? Let's get them coming in. The only thing I could add and is that it's all supported over the Things Industries, the Things Stack Cloud infrastructure. All these products have been tested, and we have many customers that use LoRaWAN in buildings, and many of them are very much interested in this product. So that's interesting. So the first question from Olivier Binat. I hope I say your name correctly. How does Thermostat know which Vicky between X in the same room new target temperatures has been changed? So can you answer that question?
Yeah, absolutely. Olivier, thank you for asking this. This is managed by the application server. So the wireless thermostat does not have any device-to-device communication with the other devices. We're not really fans of combining LoRaWAN and kind of overriding it with our own protocol. So that's why we don't have device-to-device communication, but this is managed by the application server. Basically, that's the simple answer. I think it's gonna, for example, the very popular ones, they have rule engine where you can set a rule to transfer the information from this device to the Wikis.
Cool, great. Then the next question: why did you choose OPVs from Epishine? Did you evaluate other companies? Very interesting question from Nikla.
Indeed, we did. I know of two companies that do such organic solar panels. I know Epishine and Dracurio Technologies. We did test EpiShine more with Dracula Technologies. We understood that we actually met at a fair, and we understood that it might not be the fit exactly for our solution. But the truth is that we, as a small company, we like to work quickly, and we wanted, things with EpiShine just started working really quickly for us. They delivered the first 1,000 pieces very quickly, and just the technical support there was very good. The side story is that actually EpiShine was part of this accelerator for deep techs called EIC Scaling Up. And this is how I met EpiShine, actually, through this accelerator. And Dracula, we met at an expo. But if there are any other such companies out there, I think just they should continue persevere, because there's definitely 100% value. If they talk to their customers and try to adjust the technology so that the customer requirements can be met, I think that's a winning kind of combination.
Yeah, great, cool. Yeah. Then the next one, is it possible to know what MCU is inside? Are you thinking of exterior solar panel for monitoring? Okay.
I'm not sure I understand the second part of the question. Are you thinking of
maybe
exterior environment?
maybe a solar
Not
panel
sure.
that you can put actually outside, like something that maybe in a wire could be positioned in a place where there's a bit more light coming in through a room or something. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
focus on the first question. Yeah.
Yeah, it's we use microcontrollers from ST, so Cortex M something. I'm not sure what. Low power ones. I think it's STM32 inside, but higher, more beefed up version, since we also have the display, which consumes a lot of effort to run.
Okay, great. Then nice. Just keep the questions coming. Anybody has questions, and I see them mostly coming in from YouTube. But if you're on LinkedIn, we can see your questions as well. With what controller can thermostats work other than Vicky?
I think that's up to the market to decide. The idea is that, okay, if we say, let's just look from a kind of a distant angle at things, this is a way to set the target temperature and to get a reading of what is the temperature, to get a reading of the motion, to get a reading of the humidity. So it's up to the industry what they're going to decide how to use it. We're giving one specific example, but then let's say a BMS integrator, they might think of 100 more that we have not thought about. What we're trying to do is just create versatile device that can do many things. But let me give you a concrete example. What you can do is, for example, get a smart plug from Enginco, let's say. You put your electric heater into this smart plug, and then you have the wireless thermostat on the wall. So you set the target temperature on the wall, you sense what is the temperature inside the room, again, from our device, and then you instruct Enginco whether to turn on or off the space heater. That's an example. Yeah.
That's an amazing example. I mean, our mantra is let's build this thing together, and I think the disruptive nature of this is also that this is not typically how the legacy building management system works. Is that this level of interoperability, like it's all about lock-in and keeping things for yourself, and yeah, this kind of open platform allows to do so much more, and probably that will be a massive advantage in the next 3 years. So
I think the key here, Wienke, I think it's worth discussing, but I think the key is that you don't get vendor lock-in. You don't have to use the same IoT platform or the same device. And I think this incentivizes a lot of enterprise customers to go for it, because they know that when making this decision, even if they make the wrong decision right now, part of it is going to be right. Part of it might be the IoT or might be the device itself. Yeah, important. I'm sorry.
Okay, cool. No, really good. I think that's why we're here. when will the relay version of the thermostat be released from Daniel Rodriguez?
We expect June, July. Depends right now on the CE certification. Since we're interfacing with high current, it's a little bit harder than just let's say a battery or battery-less device. To talk about it a little bit more, it has 5 relays inside. One of them it's a dry relay, so you can connect other types of signals, not primarily the mains, not necessarily the mains. And it has also a 0 to 10 volt input output. So we've tried to kind of understand how we can tap this fan call market. We've compared a lot of systems and thought, hey, that's the common thing among them. With launching this device, which is going to be basically a second, it's going to look like a second device. It's going to come pre-installed here, but it's literally this big, as you see here, and you just place it. So there is communication and powering of this device from the mains. It's a Class C device, but then we're also going to launch this 5-channel relay as a standalone product, again as a Class C LoRaWAN relay pack.
Cool. That's super nice. I think does the device support device to device? I think you already answered that question, but the answer was no, I think.
No. We know that maybe you know better than me, Wienke, but know that the LoRa Alliance is bringing this concept forward, this technical specification about device-to-device communication. I would love to, jump on this train and also allow it. But before we have it, we do have experience with custom protocols based on LoRa, not necessarily LoRaWAN, but we don't want to combine them. I think we should be taking care of also the other spectrum and just should follow the directions.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing that I wanted to mention, by the way, is the photo. This device, we recently started doing photo for our devices, but the wireless thermostat also has photo. So you can, I think that's also a huge step forward. Honestly, returns for firmware update have been extremely painful, before having photo. And the truth is that when you're a hardware developer, you never have the final firmware. We have not changed the firmware of, let's say, the HNT sensor that we have. We have not changed it for, I don't know, maybe 2 years because it works. But then we figure out, we just learned something that we didn't know before. For example, we see how it performs in a certain situation, etc., and we decide to update it. So having photo on devices, I think, is the other part of kind of unlocking this more massive adoption of IoT. Yeah.
That's great to hear. I think we're gonna wrap up here. Thanks for sharing this awesome product. I don't see any further questions here. I want to thank everybody for watching. We'll share the links in the comments and in the description. And if you watch this on demand, then you'll find them in the description. Thanks again, Lyubomir.
Thank you, Yanchev.
And we'll wrap it up here.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks everybody for watching.
Bye, everybody.